that is probably one of the worst hockey games I've ever watched. Ever. I mean, I don't want to call these guys out because I think they did a pretty great job calling the game in general. But to hear these guys saying this is a nail-biter of a game, to hear them say this is a nail-biter of a game, that's one of the biggest lies I've ever heard told in my entire life about an NHL hockey game or a hockey game in general. That was two hockey teams who don't want to be there, who can't figure out how to break out of their zone, complete passes, operate power plays, move the puck in transition, duking it out to see who could do it worse. That was one of the worst hockey games I've ever watched in my life. I can't even be mad at this point. You know, we've accepted here that this is not the year, putting it lightly. This is not the year for the Maple Leafs. Come back at it next year. Let's see what you've got, I guess. Retool, get ready. But, like, I finally understand why some people love the shootout. It's because their hockey teams are atrocious, and they have to watch games like that, and so they get to look forward to a skills competition at the end. The shootout was by far the most exciting part of it, and it was barely even exciting anyways. The Matthews shootout attempt was like a full-blown tankathon. Like, Matthews was leading the charge out there on that one. I was like, well, try this one. Didn't work. Okay, shut it down. On to the next. I can't believe what just took. I mean, I can believe, but just to have to sit through that entire game and watch that was beyond a snooze fest. That was legitimately two bad hockey teams duking it out to see who won it at least. We'll break this all down tonight on the post-game show. I'll take callers here yet again. I want to know what you guys have to say about this one, about the season, as we get closer and closer to the trade deadline here as well. I want to know your thoughts, your feelings, all of that about the Maple Leafs, their season, tonight's game, if you really want to dig into it. We'll get into all of it here tonight on the post-game show. A presentation of Bet365. I'm Zach Phillips. As always, here on the Leafs Nation 401 YouTube channel, breaking it all down. What happened, what we just witnessed, and what we will witness over the next week or so. And look, I'm going to be very, very honest and transparent with you. After a game like that, I just barely even know what to say. You know, there are some things I do definitely want to touch on in general about what happened out there, and we'll get into all of that. But this is one of those games where it was just like both teams were just asleep. And yet again, I mean, the Maple Leafs fall behind in the shot count early on. I know some people in the chat were poking fun of me saying, hey, you know what Babcock always says, start on time. Well, that was again for the Maple Leafs, didn't start on time. It looked like the Flyers came out, were like, we want this one, and then they realized, maybe we don't want it that much. Producer Vic pointed out here, Berube hockey against Talk It Hockey, setting hockey back in general 15 years with this game tonight, having to watch those two styles go head-to-head out there. It's like, it's just not fun to watch. It's not enjoyable to watch. I said it last game in the post-game show, and I think it was part of my frustration where I talked about the quit job that we saw take place. You know, all you really want as a fan, even if your team is going to stink the joint out and lose games and tank and try to get yourself a top pick in the upcoming draft, you still just like want to see the team compete just for the sake of making your life more enjoyable when you turn the TV on every night. Because as Leafs fans, you know, for some reason we're addicted to pain, and it's impossible for us to turn the TV off. We're going to watch. But you just, at bare minimum, you want to see some type of effort or intensity. Like, the most intensity we saw all night was Ekman Larsson yelling at the ref at the end of the period in overtime because he got hit from behind into the boards. That was it. Like, outside of that, that was the most emotion, the most intensity, the most anger out of anybody on the ice. And I don't know if that's just a full acceptance that this team's season is over and it's not going to work, and these guys have realized the fate that lies ahead, and no guys are going to be traded. They're not all going to be together, and they've kind of just all come to a conclusion that that's it, and there's a lack of motivation in the room. That could be part of it. But I mean, I watch a game like that, and it's hard to get through. Like, it's hard to watch something like that for 60 plus minutes here tonight. The worst part about this game is these guys can't even lose properly. The Flyers gave you an out, and you had to go out there and tie it up on the power play. Something you've stunk at all season long. And you just go out and capitalize off some quick puck movement and a good puck retrieval by Matthew Knies and tie it, send it to overtime, send it to a shootout, and pick up a loser point. It's counterproductive. It's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You don't need the loser point. You're close enough to a top 5 pick, you might as well try to get there. Now, obviously, the players aren't going to just throw in the towel, but just, they can't even lose properly. I watched Nylander tie the game, and I'm almost like, oh, fuck. Really? Picking up a point? Like, winning doesn't matter, because if you win, you're not going to make the playoffs. If you're going to lose, just lose. Avoid the points. It's like when you're competing for a playoff spot and you're talking about taking things in your own hands, and you get to overtime and you pick up a point, but you only pick up one. So now you got to look around at the other teams around you and hope that they all lose so that they don't gain any ground or increase the gap or anything like that. You're looking at it and being like, man, here we go. We picked up a point. Let's hope that, the Boston Bruins don't get one here tonight so that we can advance and continue our push for a playoff spot. It's the opposite. I found myself, as soon as that game went to overtime, looking at the scoreboard to see what teams around us were going to potentially win games here tonight. Okay, can the other teams that are ahead, the 8 better picks than us, can they pick up a point here? Can they win games so that they can surpass the Maple Leafs and the Leafs can slide down the standings? I know that it's my job to come on here and talk about this team and the games, and I get that, and I'm going to be here. But, at some point, you got to realize what's best for the organization, and losing is what's best for the organization right now. You're too close to a bottom 5 that it makes me sick that you're going to hand over a pick to the Boston Bruins in the top 10. It might not be a top 5 pick because for some reason they do stupid shit like tonight where they tie it up. And that idea of sitting from 6 to 10 and it being the Bruins pick is making me sick to my stomach. It's making me ill. The goddamn Toronto Maple Leafs. They just have to do the dumbest shit possible every time. They have to. This is what they do. The fucking Maple Leafs. We'll open up callers here in a moment. I want to remind people here as the show continues tonight, if you are watching and you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe here to the channel as well, right here. The Leafs Nation 401 right here on YouTube. We have comprehensive, in-depth, full breakdowns and coverage of the Toronto Maple Leafs as we head into the trade deadline. I will be covering the team following every single post-game or every single game for the post-game right here on this channel, going live immediately after the game to talk about what we just saw, what happened, what the team is up to, the efforts put forth, all of that, as well as how players perform that are heading towards a potential trade, a new team come Friday. We'll be breaking it all down here on the post-game show. And then as well, Leafs Morning Take, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Taking on some amazing guests. I know Bruce Boudreau is joining the boys tomorrow. I think Brian Burke may rejoin the boys later at some point this week. I'm sure Dave Pagnotta will stop by here as well as we head into the trade deadline, talking about who could be on the move, what prices might look like, what other players around the league the Toronto Maple Leafs might actually be looking for if they're maybe looking at making some type of hockey trade, which I think would actually be a smart thing to do here at this deadline. But again, that would involve Brad Treliving being creative, and I don't know if he has any creative ability or creative bone in his body to go out there and make something happen that is more than just picks coming back here and second round picks and stuff coming back here for, a Brandon Carlo or something like that. Maybe you find a way to move on from Matias Maccelli or Max Domi to a team that is looking to move on from some player, or they just want to swap something, and maybe the trade deadline is the best time to do so. Maybe you could find a guy out there on some other team. I think that would be the best case scenario, but the boys on Leafs Morning Take will have that Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications as well if you enjoy this show. Check us out on all podcasting platforms, wherever you listen to your podcast, the Leafs Nation After Dark. The other thing here, I just want to remind people as well, because I see some coming in. Proceeds from our super chats go to Sick Kids Charity. You want to get your question, your comment, your concern read here on the post-game show. Send those in via a donation. Proceeds from our super chat do go to Sick Kids Charity, Canada's #1 research-intensive children's hospital, #3 in North America. Last season, we raised about $4,500 for sick kids. This season, we are on pace to blow past that, and we haven't even hit the trade deadline. Now, obviously, post-trade deadline, we may not have as much runway to continue to up that number, so that's why I will encourage you guys in the chat to continue to send in those donations. It's not going to my pocket. I'm not saying it to be greedy. Proceeds go to sick kids. It's an amazing cause, and I'm super proud to be a part of it here on this channel and here in this network. So continue to send in those super chats, and let's get those up. But you want a question, comment, concern, you want to just get frustrated, you want to get pissed off, I don't care what it is, send in your super chats. And the first one I see, Zach owes us like 18 salts. Blow, Leafs, blow. Yes, I do. For those who know, I moved yesterday, so I've got to find those smelling salts. Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to have some wicked amounts of smelling salts done on the post-game show. The pile that I have to dig through to find them right now is astronomically huge. I'm just going to order some new ones, and I will have those for Wednesday's show. I know I'm letting a lot of people down with that. I apologize, but you guys keep me honest. You keep track of the smelling salts. I think right now we're currently sitting at 6 that I owe you, so I will bring that to the table over the next couple of shows. So keep liking the stream, keep subscribing here to the channel, and then Wednesday and Thursday we're going to try to have some guests on the post game on Wednesday, and Thursday I have an idea for a potentially special stream that we'll do the night before trade deadline here on the Leafs Nation 401 YouTube channel, so make sure to subscribe here as well. Max Entius also says, have you seen Willie's new purse? Question mark. Looking cute. Yeah, I mean, at this point it feels like the fashion is the most important part of the important part of the game, is what these guys are caring about going into this. Ryan C says, get Pelly on the show. I'm sure that Pelly's avoiding media in general, and this show of all shows is probably the last place that he wants to be, given how frustrated the people on this channel have gotten and people in this chat have gotten over the last little while. So I could see him kind of saying, maybe not for me. Maybe not for me. Looking over at Instagram, for those who are watching on Instagram, I see a lot of people asking questions in there and participating in the chat. And however you choose to consume the content, I appreciate that. It's whatever floats your boat, whatever is easiest for you. But if you want to get involved in the chat and you want to go back and forth with people, the easiest way to do so is on YouTube. But just taking a look at what people are saying on Instagram right now, I'm currently seeing Jimmy LTAC saying, you don't understand, Matthews doesn't care. He won the Olympics, getting paid well. He don't care. He's had 2 to 3 good seasons, so he doesn't care. He's getting 30 goals a season now. I would disagree with that. So here's what I will say, kind of actually talking about tonight's game and why I do disagree with this a little bit. Watching the style of play that the Toronto Maple Leafs played tonight, I'm not saying this as an excuse for Matthews or as an excuse for Nylander, but yeah, the players on this team need to be better, and that is a direct cause of the construction that Brad Treliving put together, the team he put together in the summer. But the style of hockey these guys play is not at all suitable to this team. I think if Berube had a certain style of team constructed underneath him, like what he had with the St. Louis Blues the year they won the Cup, he'd be more successful. I'm not saying win a Stanley Cup successful, but more successful. This is a hockey team who does not want to play dump and chase, grind it out, physical hockey. They don't want to play that. And you can see this team struggling in transition. You can see them struggling to get up the ice. You can see them struggling to make plays happen. They spend a significant amount of time trying to get the puck back, and then when they do, the first thing that they do is give it away again. How many times tonight did you watch this team chase around in the offensive zone, finally force some type of turnover in the neutral zone? They transition with a regroup. They get to the red line, and it's just a puck into the corner. I know a lot of people, myself included, want to watch Auston Matthews and William Nylander play with more intensity, some more fire to their game, some more fucking get up and go, a little piss and vinegar in their game. But I don't want to see Bobby McMahon crossing center ice and dumping the puck in so that Auston Matthews and William Nylander can dump and chase. And I watched a play early in the first period where it happened, where McMahon crosses center on a rush, and then Matthews and Nylander have to go and try to retrieve. And I was like, wow, that was a joke. Maybe it was just because McMahon's towards the end of the shift. And then you watch McMahon stays out there. He doesn't go for a change. And it's like, okay, well, maybe he just thought he was running out of room. He's got to get this puck in deep. And then later on in the first period, again, McMahon kind of getting pinched off a little bit. Nylander and Matthews moving through the neutral zone with speed. Puck in the corner, dump and chase. They're not dump and chase players. They're not. The system that is being played is this dumbed down, simplistic, caveman style of hockey that is closer resembling a playoff style of hockey, but is completely incorrect for the players that they have here. Everything about this team and this roster and everything is flawed. But then on top of that, the systems, the line combinations, the structure, all of it, not suited for this team and the style of play that they should be playing. It's slow, boring hockey with some guys on this team who shouldn't be playing slow, boring hockey. Auston Matthews, William Nylander. You know, I'm not saying this as the guys, some incredible player that a system should be suited to, but Matias Maccelli, not that kind of guy. It should be a fast-paced, high-tempo, get up the ice quickly in transition style of play. And yet you've constructed it too far in between, or too far on polar opposite ends. Poor construction by the GM. Poor choice of coach to be running it. It is a bad hockey team playing the wrong style, and it is fucking hard to watch. Maxentius Decimus, the super chat, no salts, no likes, we protest. Please don't do that. Please like the stream, subscribe to the channel. I promise you I will make it up to you. Zach Green says, the boys played okay tonight, but they got unlucky. Willie looked good. Got to make some moves for assets and draft capital and retool. I mean, I guess it was okay, but the standard that we've set is compared to the last 3 games, and to be honest with you, I think if it was an opponent like what you faced in the last 3 games, you would have got your shit pumped here again. You just got lucky you played the Philadelphia Flyers, who are also not a good team. It was bad hockey. Okay is a low bar. Comparing it to the last few games is a low bar. And yet I feel like that's where we're at. Was it better than the last ones? Yeah, probably. Does it have to do with the opponent? Yeah, probably. X though says, Zach, if you were true living in a fantasy world, who would you add in? Who would you send off? Forget cap, clauses, etc. What do we need for a cup? I mean, I don't know what the answer is for a cup. But what I will say is you need to get younger and faster. Playing a grittier, heavier style is fine. But you can't lose the speed to the degree that you did. You know, we went from the days of Kerfoot, Mikheyev, Malgin, Yarncroke, Engvall in your bottom 6. There was no heaviness. There was no checking. There was no physicality to their play. It was all speed, all run and gun. And we saw in the playoffs, it just got snuffed out because they couldn't play that style against other teams successfully. When you match up against Tampa, who will bully the shit out of you, your bottom lines, they just get erased. They become irrelevant to the game. Then you watch what happens against the Florida Panthers the first time you played them in the second round, and again, to an extent, what happened when you played them in the second round last year, when you played the Bruins, when you played the Lightning in those first rounds. Your bottom 6 can just get eliminated from a game because they just played such a light, fast style. You need to get younger. You need to get faster. Your team is old as shit. They're way too slow. You picked up names and not guys who have any abilities right now. I think you need to get creative here. I think you need to be looking at ways to see what you could do or what the price is on a guy like a Shane Wright. Find out what the price is on a Jordan Kyrou. On, I don't know, Owen Tippett. You know, Owen Tippett to me is an interesting piece because I think that when you look at the speed he brings, it's unlike most of what you have on this team outside of really Bobby McMahon. He's a guy who can score some goals. He's got skill. And he is a heavier guy. He doesn't play that heavy in his style, but he's not afraid. He'll involve himself in the forecheck. He went from Florida. They moved off him to get Claude Giroux. It wasn't really that they gave up on him. It was more because they were buying a piece. He goes to Philly. I think the Flyers are looking to move in a different direction potentially. Maybe it's best for Owen Tippett with a with a change of scenery. Like, that's the kind of guy I would be intrigued by. I'm not saying you can afford the guy, but it's being creative and trying to see who's out there that you can make a hockey trade with. Are there players on other teams who need a change of scenery, a different style, different line mates, a different opportunity who might be able to excel? Like, what if Owen Tippett comes here I'm just using him as an example. What if he comes here and he's a guy who can fit in your top 6? Because he's never played with players of the talent level of Auston Matthews, of a William Nylander. And all of a sudden he excels. It's a very plausible situation. You gotta find ways to get creative here to see how you can retool this thing at this deadline and going forward. Tip it. See who's available on the defensive side of things. You know, one thing that I liked that Kyle Dubas did with Pittsburgh, and I think would be the kind of thing the Maple Leafs should be looking to do. I don't know what asset they would have in particular that may be able to bring this guy back, but a perfect example of what I'm talking about with the hockey trade is what Kyle Dubas did moving Brett Kulak to the Colorado Avalanche. He moved the player on a cheaper contract to the Avs because they needed some cap space because they're still going to want to add here as the deadline approaches. You know, we know that they've been in on a Nazem Kadri, trying to bring him back. We know that Scott Laughton is the type of piece that would work there. You know that they're not done. So they needed to free up space. So they moved on from Sam Girard, who had a little bit more of a salary to him. They lower their cap hit by bringing in Brett Kulak, and they send a second-round pick to the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Penguins add themselves a young, mobile, puck-moving defenseman in Sam Girard, a guy who's won a Stanley Cup, and they added a pick. It's a 2028 second-round pick. I get it. It's not this season. It's next. But it adds assets to your to your cabinet. It adds a player that can play in your lineup. It adds a player who could potentially be helpful to you going forward, and it's a younger guy. Again, it's not going to be Sam Girard because that trade is done with, but I thought that was a tidy piece of business by both parties. The Avs get a more reliable defensive defenseman in Brett Kulak. They lower their salary cap, and the Penguins add a pick, and they add a mobile defenseman. You need to find those kinds of guys, and you need to rely on some pro scouting as you move forward here. Like, watch the defense here tonight for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Brandon Carlo, Jake McCabe, Simone Benoit, Phil Myers. None of them can really move the puck up the ice that well. I think Jake McCabe, at this point in his career, I throw him in that conversation. I think he's just slowed down, whether it's this season in general, whether he's just having an off year, if he's battling through injuries, I don't know. But his play has significantly declined. And then you look at the other guys that I just mentioned, unless Simone Benoit is going on some crazy rush up the ice, they just don't really have guys that can move the puck up. Troy Stecher is like the only guy that really stands out outside of Oliver Ekman-Larsson as a guy who can really get up the ice quickly or get the puck up the ice quickly, and Berube's fucking scratching him. You need more mobility. You need to have the puck on the stick of your forwards more often. Like, that's the other thing. We want to complain about Auston Matthews not being able to score and not being able to get up ice and create chances as often. How many times is he in his own zone, whether he's starting there because Berube is using him incorrectly, or he just ends up back out there because the natural transition of play ends up in their own zone, and then he's screwed forever. Because there goes the puck to Simone Benoit, and he's going off the glass and into the neutral zone. There goes the puck to Phil Myers, off the glass and into the neutral zone. Jake McCabe doesn't have the same mobility or puck moving capabilities anymore. Off the glass and into the neutral zone. It's a repetitive cycle for these guys here right now. Your forwards aren't getting the puck. When they finally do, they're late in a shift. Then you're dumping it in. You're going for a change. You're not keeping possession of the puck. They're one of the worst possession teams in the NHL. That was so evident in this game tonight. How many times? Like, you literally lose track of how many times they cross center ice And it's just like, flip it in, get it out. Flip it in, get it out. Because they got nothing. It's late in the shift. They're tired. They've struggled to get the puck from their defenseman all night. There's no mobility. You need to find younger, faster guys who can move the puck better because you just don't have that right now. You need to retool how you have things in the defensive side, in the defensive zone. You need better structure, and you need to get faster. Like this is where it gets confused in this market. And this is what frustrates me a bit. Like, I got dickheads online replying to stuff being like, this is what you asked for. No, it's not. What I asked for was for the team to stop getting bullied. I know we've done this before and had this conversation before, but nobody was asking for the team to play this slow and this fucking boring. You wanted them to not get pushed around and get bullied. They turned the dial way too far the other way. There needed to be some middle ground. And they couldn't find it. They overshot it and they fucked themselves. For those who are just tuning in, for those who are new here or just have found the channel before and are coming back to check it out, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe here to the channel as well. Just a reminder to people, you want full trade deadline coverage, make sure to be subscribed and tune in to the Daily Face-Off YouTube channel. It's one of the most exciting days on the hockey calendar, and teams are setting up their rosters for a playoff push, freeing up cap space and adding future assets. The Toronto Maple Leafs will be one of those teams, moving off of players and adding assets. Join the DFO crew on Friday, March 6th, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time for the Daily Face-Off Trade Deadline Special, so make sure to check it out there. We're going to have a player panel with Carter Hutton, Colby Cohen, Johnny Lazarus will be involved in the show. Jeff Merrick will be hosting. We'll have Dave Pagnotta as our insider. We'll also have Hart Levine from Puckpedia stopping by to give us breakdowns on salary caps, LTIR, retention slots, all of that, giving you the ins and outs of how these trades are working, how they fit, all of that and more. So make sure to subscribe to the Daily Face-Off YouTube channel for the Daily Face-Off Trade Deadline Special, Friday, March 6th, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time for a full show. I will be involved in that one as well, helping out with the production for that one. And then, probably going to be involved in some Leaf stuff here on this channel as well. Hit that like button, subscribe here to the channel. I'm about to send in the link in the chat. You want to get your thoughts in. If you don't want to send in super chats, you can also call into the show. I want to hear what Maple Leafs fans think and feel about this game here tonight. And even if you don't love the Maple Leafs, even if you're not a fan of the Maple Leafs, feel free to call in and give your thoughts. I don't care who you are, who you cheer for, whatever. Call into the show here tonight and let's hear it all. Thank you guys again for the support. One thing I want to touch on here as we wait for callers to jump in, just quickly, final thought before we get to our first caller. I cannot believe we are still in a place of playing Morgan fucking Riley as the quarterback on Power Play 1. For how many years have we watched Morgan Riley run the power play and say, too predictable, too easy to defend, not enough of a shot from the point? I don't know if it's because there's a sniper in the stands and he's refusing to shoot, or if it's because he doesn't trust his own shot, or what. But the opposing team just parts the seas and lets this guy stand there with the puck because they know he's not a threat. Morgan Riley should not be running Power Play 1. And you have a guy in Oliver Ekman-Larsson that you should be showcasing his offensive abilities here right now. Why would you not put Oliver Ekman-Larsson on the power play with Matthews and with Nylander, with Nyes and Tavares, if you're going to continue to put them out there, and show, here's a guy who can play an offensive style of game. He plays with some edge. He's got some bite. If you're showcasing players like what you seem to have been doing over the last week when you were fucking scratching Easton Cowan, why would you not find a way to showcase Oliver Ekman-Larsson and his ability to run a power play? For the most part here, whatever team he goes to, he's not going to be running power play 1, but at least showing, hey, here's a guy who could run your second power play, I think would be useful. And just in general, the fact that we are still at this point, March 2nd, 61 games into the season, and Oliver Ekman-Larsson is still not the quarterback of the power play, and it's still Morgan Rielly despite everything we've seen. Even Troy Stetcher, I would be throwing out there as the quarterback over Morgan Rielly. There is no need to defend this guy out at the point. Morgan Rielly running the power play is like a big man getting an open 3 from the top of the 3-point line. Nobody takes it seriously, and everyone just crashes back because they know there's going to be some kind of rebound coming because there's going to be a muffin fired from the point that has no shot going in. He's not a threat. He telegraphs his passes. He telegraphs his plays. He's not shifty. I don't know if he's just out there because of the contract that he's got or the name value of, it's Morgan Rielly and he's being a great Maple Leaf. I don't know what it is. But it's ridiculous that he could be out there running power play 1 still. Like, watching this power play is taking years off of my life. It's infuriating. The zone exits, the transition, zone entries, the setup and the puck movement, anything to do with Morgan Rielly is making my brain explode. That's one thing from tonight that I just couldn't wrap my head around. Oh, and by the way, just cherry on top, this guy on the fucking penalty kill, he is by far your worst defensive defenseman, and you're playing him on the penalty kill? That power play goal that the Flyers scored, the overhead view of Morgan Rielly is ridiculous. This guy is defending the fucking post. Dvorak is standing all alone in the middle. The rebound pops out there, and Dvorak just shovels it through the legs of Anthony Stolarz. Uncontested, no battle, no stick lift, no physicality. Morgan Rielly's just standing there looking at him. And it's like the 100th time I've seen that this year. Thank God he defended the post, though. He's lost in his defensive zone. I don't know if it's the structure that they're wanting them to play, the system they want them to play, but that's not a fucking guy I would have out on the ice. It's not. Let's get to the phone lines. Let's welcome to the program our first caller of the night. I'm going to butcher his last name, I think, so I'll give it a shot and he can correct me if I'm wrong. But let's welcome to the program Nick Cherenfant. Did I say that correctly, Nick?
Well, my last name is Nick Cherenfant, but
Cherenfant. Cherenfant. Yeah. Is that it? All right. Yeah, I apologize for just butchering your name. Right. That was disrespectful, but thank you for correcting me.
You're welcome. Boy, oh boy, that was this game was pretty boring to say the least. Seems like neither team wanted to win, as you mentioned earlier.
Yep. It did. It felt like this was a game of two teams being like, I think you want it more. I think this one you should take this. Like, the Leafs take a lead, the Flyers tie it up easy, the Flyers take the lead, and then they're like, they take a penalty, send the Leafs to the power play, they tie it up. it just seemed like both teams in this one just had no interest in being there and were trying to get out of it, get their pregame fit pictures in so that they can get them posted on social media, and then hit the bars downtown Toronto tonight.
Yeah. Just want to say one thing about MLSE and the ownership. I found that narrative that MLSE and ownership only care about money isn't quite true, just in the sense that if MLSE was if management was solely focused on building competitive team, they'd be making more money.
So, yes, where I get concerned is I think that MLSE knows that no matter what happens, Nick, Leafs fans will show up. Look at that arena tonight. It's full again. It's full again. And there's people in there, in their seats, buying beers, buying food, heading to the concessions in between. They're still going to buy their Nylander and Matthews and Nyes and Tavares jerseys. Like, everybody is still going to do that because no matter what happens, people will still show up to watch the Leafs. They're still going to turn on their TVs. They're still going to watch the Leafs games. Like, we're sitting here in a season that's lost, and there's 500 people here watching the post game tonight, and they all watched the game. They all saw what happened. They're still going to tune in. And I think there's a part of MLSE that knows that. And while I kind of probably need to walk back my comments, or at least adjust my comments, because you are correct here. And so I want to give you the credit of being correct on this and just kind of adjust what I was saying to. Do they want to make the playoffs? Yes, they want to make the playoffs, because you're right. Going to the playoffs will make them more money. But I worry that these guys are not that interested in making big changes right now, spending the money that needs to be spent, because making the playoffs or just being competitive enough to be close to the playoffs is good enough for them. And that's what concerns me, is that they don't want to go through what's necessary here to put the team in a better position. They just want to patchwork their way around this. They don't want to buy guys out. They don't want to have to deal with that for the rest of the season. They don't want to pay Berube and Treliving not to be here. They'd rather see if these guys can fix it. And that's what scares me. So I kind of will amend my statement, because you are right. The preference would be playoffs and being competitive. You're 100% right on that. But just kind of to my point of what I was saying is, like, I don't know that they're willing right now, especially given this change in ownership where it's no longer Bell and Rogers. It's all Rogers. And we've seen what's happened with the organization. You've seen what's happened even with employees at MLSE who are even on the fucking sales team. They're cutting things down. They're cutting costs. They're making teams smaller. And that's what scares me.
Yeah. Just what was I gonna say? Yeah, I understand for poor teams like Columbus or Ottawa, I would understand the perspective of not paying not be wanting to pay coaches and GMs that don't work for them, but for their leagues, they're like the most resist team, and we're getting worried about paying a couple $1 million to coaches and GMs that don't work for them anymore. Like, I just don't get it. Just for the sake of being competitive.
I know. I know. I'm with you, Nick. I just, like, I know that you're sitting there right now with Berube having more years and more money on his contract, Treliving in a similar position, and it scares the shit out of me that these guys don't want to do what they need to do because they don't want to pay the guy not to be here, and they want to pay someone else to come in and be the coach. That is what scares the shit out of me. Now, they could prove me wrong in the summer, but they had ample opportunity to fire Craig Berube during the season. That was the easiest move. Like, that would have been the easiest thing to do. And I'm not even saying that because it's the easy way out. It became very clear early on that Berube needed to go, and yet he's still here. And that, to me, kind of tells me that my concerns about this are at least correct. Like, maybe they change their mindset in the summer, or they fire the guy and they let him go and they go into a different position here and bring somebody else in. But, holding on to the guy till the end of the season just screams these guys don't want to spend the money to fire guys and let guys go and do the right thing.
Yeah, one last thing.
Yep.
Do you think they're going to sell Morgan Riley at trade deadline come Friday or?
No, I don't. I think the Morgan Riley trade is far too complex. Unless something has happened behind the scenes that we don't know about, which I feel like we would have, because I think it's so major, and especially being in Toronto, it seems like that's the kind of thing that would make its way to the public and be in the public eye that we would just find out about, is unless something has happened where Morgan Riley has agreed to give a list of teams he would go to or find a location that he would be best fit in, which I don't think is the case. I don't see him being traded at the deadline. He's got a no move. He can dictate his location. He's got a big salary cap. There would need to be retention, I would think, on a trade like that, or the Leafs would have to offload something to get him out of here and get some team to take that full cap hit. I just don't think it works here in the regular season. I think it's something that you do in the summer, but I don't think it happens here. I don't think it happens here at the deadline.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Um, Look, I'm not gonna take any longer of the call, so
Yeah, well, no problem, Nick. I appreciate the call here. I appreciate questions and the input here tonight. Thank you for calling in, and look forward to the next call.
by the way, I'm not my English isn't perfect. French is my first language, so bear with me if
No, you did a great job. I thought you were excellent here tonight, Nick.
thank you.
All right,
Have
Nick.
a
I
good night.
appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. Nick Sharon-Fent on the line. Appreciate Nick for that call. If more people want to call into the show, the link is pinned at the top. We have over 500 people watching here right now. I want to hear from you guys in the chat what your thoughts are on tonight's game. So we'll get to our next caller here lined up. Let's get to Jordan Galang. Jordan, did I say your last name right? Because I screwed up Nick's. Nick Sharon-Fent.
Yeah, you got my last name right. How are you doing, Zach?
I'm doing all right, Jordan. You know what? This was a game to me that I almost just, it was so painful to watch that I was just laughing. You know what I mean? Like, watching this was like, wow, I can't believe I'm watching this dull of a hockey game right now. This was the last thing I expected. Missed the playoffs? Okay. But to be in this position, I didn't get it. So, you know what? I'm probably in a better mood than I was on over the last week or so watching this team play.
Well, like I said, when I called in on Saturday. I told you,
Yep.
we want them to lose every single game.
Yep.
And that way, Berube will be gone, Trey Livin will be gone. The fact they got a point tonight, honestly, is bad. So they need to lose every single game. But here's the thing that I've concluded from this.
Okay.
And this is very harsh, but it's the truth. This group of core players, they're really just a bunch of losers. Do I think Matthews can win a Stanley Cup somewhere else? Yes, but not if he's the number one player. Do I think Willie could win somewhere else? Absolutely, but not if he's the 2 or 3. These guys can be the second best, third best players, but they cannot be the main guys. They can't. They're losers. And then the other thing that we discussed Saturday, and I can't believe this, is they played Easton Cowan 8 minutes tonight.
Yeah.
Play him. Play him 15, 20 minutes. The way they've handled him has been an absolute joke. You know, and I get Berube and them are trying to still win. They have to accept the fact their season is done. Do what's the betterment of the team for the future.
Yep.
So
let me do this in 2 parts. So let me start with the best part. The best thing they can do is lose. I 100% agree with you. I know there's going to be a lot of people who are going to get mad that I'm effectively rooting for losses, but I am. Part of it is me looking at the position in the standings and recognizing we're currently set up for the 9th overall pick, which would mean it goes to Boston. That makes me sick to my stomach. You might as well just fall off a cliff, finish in the bottom 5, and get your own fucking pick this year. When Auston Matthews went into the net, I had a full panic moment where I was like, oh God, broken leg. He's even going to miss some of next year. And it was just like, shut him down. Tell him he's hurt. Take the rest of the year off. Get a break. Don't play. Nyes, he still looks injured. Sit him. Rest him. Like, the loser point is the worst thing that these guys can be possibly doing right now because they are just not allowing themselves to free fall the way they need to. Picking up points like this is counterproductive. They need to just lose. And to be honest with you, I am very much so at this point cheering for this team to lose games. Going to overtime was frustrating. Like, the only way that this thing becomes bearable is if you finish 15th or 16th last and you miss the playoffs that way, and that's too far away. You're not going to do that. So you need to find a way here now, especially being as close as you are and losing your 4th straight. You need to find a way to just get to the bottom. Get to the bottom of the pile and get there. I'm with you on that. Losing is the best thing. And unfortunately, I love the Maple Leafs. I want them to win. I want to see a Stanley Cup. I want to see success. I fucking love the Toronto Maple Leafs and playoff hockey and this team being in it. But that's not the best thing for this team to do right now. Get the bottom 5 pick. You're close enough now. You can sniff it. The other thing that you brought up that I want to touch on here as well, because I agree with you 100%, the handling of Easton Cowan is malpractice by the Maple Leafs organization. It is a complete and utter fucking joke how they are utilizing Easton Cowan. He went 1 month without playing in a professional hockey game. 1 month. Some of that was mishandling him throughout the course of this season. Some of that was playing him too many games towards the end of the stretch and then scratching him for 3 straight going into the Olympic break. And then some of that comes from them coming back from the break and scratching him for the first couple of games then. To play him a team low 8 minutes in a bullshit game against the Philadelphia Flyers where no one gave a fuck in this game is a complete and utter joke by Craig Berube and the Toronto Maple Leafs. That alone should have Craig Berube out the door packing his shit. That is an utter embarrassment to have your one prospect that you're looking at and hoping can make a difference on this team in the coming years playing 8 fucking minutes and a team low. That is egregious asset management. It is pathetic to see that taking place. You cannot be taking a kid, scratching him, and then playing him 8 minutes. And I'm not saying you give him opportunities just for the sake of giving him opportunities and not teaching him lessons and stuff. What I'm saying is, if you're going to play him 8 minutes and you think he's not NHL ready and he's making these mistakes, send him to the fucking Marlies. Stop playing him in NHL games for 8 goddamn minutes. It is an utter joke what's happening with Easton Cowan and the way they're utilizing him and playing him. Sitting in the press box and then coming in and playing 8 minutes a night is not good enough for the development. I don't care. Playing him when he was playing in the top 6, playing him for 14, 15 minutes a night. Sometimes he was even getting up there 18, 19 minutes a night at that stretch when he was playing with Nylander and Tavares. Fine by me. Do I realize that he has flaws and he needs to learn and he probably needs to physically develop? Yes, 100%. But if you're not going to play him 15 minutes a night in the NHL, send the kid to the Marlies. Let him play professional hockey there. I am 100% with you, Jordan. It's a joke, the deployment of Easton Cowan.
Yeah, I'll be very curious after the trade deadline. If they do move a couple forwards, will his ice time increase? Because I think that might be the only way he gets extra ice time if we move a forward or two at the deadline. But obviously we won't know till Friday.
I guess, but Jordan, my problem with it is, like, Who is it that they're looking at right now and saying that guy's in the way of Easton Cowan? You know what I mean? Is it Matthias Michelli? Is it Max Domi? Because those guys I don't look at and say, hey, yeah, they should be going ahead of him right now. Like, unless you're showcasing the players. But again, if you're planning on showcasing the players and not giving him the chances, send the kid to the fucking Marlies. Like, right now is not the time for him to be in this losing environment, this losing culture where it looks like these guys have kind of quit on the situation and then just not playing him. That makes no sense. And I get that he's got some mentors here that are probably teaching him how to be a pro off the ice. And I love that. And he's built bonds with these guys and all that kind of stuff. I love that. Don't get me wrong. But he could go to the Marlies and be the man. He could be the big dog. He can play on power play 1. He can play on the first line. He can play 20 minutes a night. He can put up points and he can develop there. If you're going to showcase guys, get him out. Like, I don't disagree with you at all, Jordan, but it's what scares me about the coaching staff and the decisions, because what are they waiting for? Like, who is it that they're looking at and saying, no, we got to wait because then we can move them up the lineup? Like, is it you're waiting for a hole to open up? Is it because you're waiting because you're moving off of a Michelli, a Joshua, a Waugh, and you're going to move pieces around? Maybe, but again, put them in the Marlies in the meantime. Enough of this.
That is a good point. All right, one last question, then I'm going to go. Do you think OEL and Carlo will be traded Friday, or only one, or neither? What's your opinion on that?
If I had to bet on one of the two, or both, or neither, I would pick one of the two. I feel like you're approaching a territory here where they're going to be stingy and they're going to look at it and set a value on the players and not move off the guy if they don't feel like it meets that value. I don't hate that, because then you're not just selling guys for the sake of selling guys, especially when it comes to them. But I think the approach elsewhere in the lineup should probably be different. And I know it's kind of a shit sandwich that you have to eat a little bit, but can you move Calle Yarncroke? Can you move Max Domi, Matthias Michelli, Nick Waugh? Can you move them and just get assets back? If you can, great. If you can, you might have to do that, because I think the current construction with those guys in this lineup is not good enough. I could see one of Carlo or OEL. And if it were to be one of the two, I kind of get the impression it would be Carlo more than OEL. And the reason for that is because I think OEL's value in a normal year would be higher, and I think the team probably knows that and doesn't want to just sell him for the sake of selling him. They've got term left on his deal. They've got him at a pretty manageable contract. He's your best defenseman right now, and I think they probably look at it and they say, you know what? I don't want to just trade the guy for the sake of trading him. Brandon Carlo, you're probably going to get, similar to a Connor Murphy type of trade. And if that's the case, I think you probably pull the trigger on it. He's not going to bring back the type of deal that you assume an Oliver Ekman-Larsson would. Irv Blitzer, Verhoff ain't dropping out of the top 5. Well, even if he does drop out of the top 5, the Maple Leafs aren't getting him, because they gave up their first round pick. So unless they get one back in a McMahon, in an OEL type trade, you're not getting one back. If anybody else wants to call in, the link is still pinned in the chat there. You guys can call in. Thank you to Nick and Jordan for calling in so far here. To anyone else who wants to call in, click that link pinned at the top of the chat. I want to hear from you guys and know what you guys have to say about the Toronto Maple Leafs, their season so far, and the trade deadline coming up this Friday. Super Chat comes in, and by the way, I want to shout this out. I'll give an explanation in a moment, but Super Chat comes in here as well from our guy Tom Robbins, one of the biggest Super Chatters here on this channel this season. Shout out to Tom for all the support. Tom did send in a massive super chat the other day. I can't thank Tom enough for the super chat. He sent a $300 one at the very end of the show. I was going to read it, and then what happened? My internet shut off. And no, my internet didn't shut off because I have bad internet. My internet shut off because I was moving on Sunday, and so I scheduled for my internet to be shut off on Sunday. And lo and behold, the internet shut off at 1 a.m. on the dot. And that was when it was shut down, and I had nothing that I could do. So the internet shut down, and I was stranded there with no ability to finish the show. So apologies to Tom, who sent in a wicked super chat. I was in the middle of reading it, and then the show ended. But Tom here says, Marner and Holmberg gone first last year in Atlantic, this year garbage. Why such a decline with pretty much the same team? Look, Tom, it's a combination of things. And, you know, where I will go to the two on this again is losing Marner was bad because they lost Marner. If they replaced Marner, and not because you want a Marner player back, but you want a high-end talent back, I think you're in a better spot. I think the top six looks a lot better. I think Auston Matthews has a better season this year. I think your power play looks better, all of it. I think it looks better if you bring in another high-end talent into this roster in replacement of Mitch Marner. But the fact of the matter is, you lost Mitch Marner and brought back Nick Waugh. Nick Waugh has been incredibly underwhelming this season. And to be honest with you, a complete disappointment for this team this year. And not at all what I thought he was going to be as a player. Like what he was in Vegas, he is not in Toronto. I think some of that is deployment. I think some of that is usage. I think some of that is systems. You look at the coach that he had there in Vegas, much better coach than the coach he has here in Toronto. And I think that is part of the problem why that's the case for Nick Waugh in particular in a vacuum. But losing Mitch Marner, I think, was better for the construction of the team, but you had to bring something back and you never did. That's part of it. The other part of it is, and what you brought up there, Holmberg, gone. Losing Holmberg in of itself is not the biggest deal. The problem was you traded Fraser Minton, you traded Nikita Grabenkin, you traded you traded those guys, and then you lost Holmberg and you lost Steves for nothing. What you ended up doing was getting older in the process and slower in the process. You know, Fraser Minton, everybody deemed as the next great thing in Boston, like he was going to be Patrice Bergeron. He's projected to be a high-level third-line center, maybe a good second-line center. Let's be realistic. Like, he's not going to be the future number one. I don't believe so. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I don't believe that's the case for Fraser Minton. The problem is you could have used that because John Tavares, he got older. He's showing his age now. The speed of the game is impacting him for probably the first time in his career because he's always been a guy who's played a slower game. He's never been fleet of foot, but it's finally caught up to him. You can tell John Tavares is struggling right now with the pace, with the intensity. I thought that the Olympic break was going to help him. It's not been the case. JT hasn't been rejuvenated in the way that I thought he would. But you just relied on these older pieces to carry you through. You didn't allow the youth that you had, whether it was on the Marlies or in the pipeline, to come through and stay here. You didn't allow a young Pontus Holmberg, a guy who could probably play the same role of a Nick Waugh, in your lineup as like a fourth line center and elevate Scott Laughton to a third line center. You didn't let him stay. You didn't keep the guy around. You got older. You got slower. You mismanaged assets here. That's another significant part of the problem. But again, that conversation ties into the next point, which is very much the same, but different in the sense of you looked at these guys and thought, yeah, they'll be okay. They'll be able to replicate it next year. Chris Tanev, Jake McCabe, they got older. John Tavares, as I mentioned, got older. You saw injuries pile up on these guys. You saw them miss time. Like Chris Tanev makes this defense look a lot different. He hasn't played for like most of this season. That's not just because of dumb bad luck. Sure, part of it is bad luck, but part of it is also he's an injury-prone player who got older. They just looked at it and said, we'll run it back. You needed to tinker a little bit, and you refused to. Whether they were scared or they wanted to save money or they're just dumb, I don't know. But they ran it back and said, we can do the same thing next season. And they couldn't. You can't rely on guys who are aging and at that point in their careers to just replicate it year after year after year. A similar situation happened in net. Your goaltender is allowed to win you games and bail you out of situations. That's allowed. They're a guy on the ice. But it seemed like there was an understanding that Stolarz was going to replicate his like Vezina caliber season of what he put together last year. Joseph Woll was going to remain healthy, and Stolarz, for that matter, was going to remain healthy. And they were just going to be able to go back and forth and play every game all season. Dennis Hildeby did step up in a big way in their absence. Credit to him for that. But the play of both of them regressed a little bit, and they both suffered injuries. There were two guys who probably played a little bit above their means, but there was no adjustments in front of them. They're both still really good goaltenders who, when healthy, are reliable guys. But they're not always healthy, and they weren't always going to play at that level. There was going to be a bit of a drop-off. Now that drop-off exposed you in front. They didn't improve the defense. They didn't improve the structure. They lost Lane Lambert, who was running the defensive side of things, and they noticeably got worse in their own zone. Those are huge pieces of all of this. Huge pieces in all of this. This is just a combination of shit that took place here for this Leafs team that absolutely rinsed their season. If you guys want to call in, hit that link. It's still pinned in the chat there. We do have another super chat that I want to get to here as well. This one comes in from Michael. Michael says, can't wait for a year before they trade 34 because he has sustained a back injury. It's too risky because he's the only blue chip we have for a few first-round picks. If he hurts again, the Leafs are fucked. Well, I would disagree with that because I would think that William Nylander is also a piece that you'd get a significant return for. He is an elite talent. But, you know, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, just trading the guy for the sake of trading him because you're like, well, his back could go at any given moment. Yeah, okay. I get it. You're trying to be proactive in some of it, but I wonder what he looks like in a different system. I wonder what he looks like under a new coach. I don't want to lay this all at the feet of Craig Berube, but changing coaches isn't uncommon in the NHL. Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers went through significantly more coaches. The Dallas Stars have rotated through more coaches. The Vegas Golden Knights have rotated through the same, if not more, coaches. You need somebody different there with a different view, a different approach, a different style to be running this team. It's very clear Craig Berube doesn't fit this and that Auston Matthews is being played improperly. I'm not trying to give him excuses. I'm not trying to give him an out, but he played in a high-tempo offensive offense and style of play and was dominant. Yes, last season he dealt with a back injury, a significant one. But you can just tell as well that the style is beating him down a bit. And that's where I'll give him that bit of an out on it. I think he would look a lot different and a lot better with better line mates than fucking Bobby McMahon and Max Domi and in a more offensively lenient style of play. Maybe that's too much of an excuse. Maybe that's too much of an out, but I think that he needs that. I think next season, new coach, new style, and you're in a better spot. Let's go to our next caller on the line here. Let's go to our guy, a regular here, somebody who's stuck with me for a long time, and I always appreciate that. I always appreciate the comments in the chat, his input here on the calls, all of it, and more. Let's welcome to the program, Max NTS Decimus. Max, what's up, buddy?
Not much. How you doing?
Not bad. I mean, I'm dealing with this game better, I think, just because it didn't look like as much of a quit job as what we saw on Saturday night. Like, that infuriated me. But this was a dull, uninterested hockey game, so it almost made me laugh. I said that to Jordan when he called in, and Nick. It almost made me laugh to have to watch hockey this bad.
It made me laugh that I knew that they were going to point. They were getting a point out of this. You know what I mean? Like, we want them to lose and tank and tank and tank and tank. And, of course, when we play the Philadelphia Flyers, all of a sudden they show up and give us 1 point.
Yeah, it had to be the case. You're down 2-1 with 4 minutes left. Of course, they were going to tie that thing up and get a point. Of course. Like, that is the leafiest thing to do, is just get a point when you need it the least. That is the one thing you could have bet on in this one, at least a point.
And the thing that made me call in was I heard your other caller talking to you about like how they're mismanaging Cowan, and I agree with that. I think that he should be on the top 6. Like, he should be playing top 6 minutes. The other person that I think should be playing top 6 minutes is Nyes. Like, I don't think you're getting much more leeway out of McMahon on a trade market. They all know we're desperate. Like, we should be developing our players. And Nyes and Cowan should be in our top 6 every single night. I don't care.
Yeah, the one thing with Nyes right now that I would say is I wonder just... and this is not a reason for him to not be in the top 6 necessarily, but, you know, you can tell he's banged up. And he admitted to having a knee injury. He tried to rehab it over...
him.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say, is rest him. Like, okay, don't play him in the top 6. That's fine, but rest him. You know, again, it goes to the conversation of, like, tanking this thing out. You have 64 points. You can get yourself close to the Calgary Flames here potentially if you really bottom this thing out properly and get into a top 5, I guess is the way to put it, top 5 pick. But, you know, you got to take precautions here and you got to rest guys. The other thing I would say about Cowan is I agree with you. You got to play him in a top 6 role, but if you don't trust him and you don't want to put him in that, then play him in the Marlies. Stop playing him on a 4th line for 8 fucking minutes a night. It makes no sense.
It is really obnoxious. I have a question for you. Right now, can they play Hildeby without like changing things around?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think so. I don't think they have the cap space to do it, so I think that would be a no. But I could be wrong on that. That's just my immediate off-the-top answer.
True, because like I would love to see him have more time if they can get him some sort of time, you know, because I'm not fully on trading Stolars because he is really good, but at the same time, I think Hildeby is the future, and like Hildeby and Wall would look great together. So if we could get him up and playing, then I would want to do that for the rest of the season. If it's a meaningless like season, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I would want to see what he's got too, but you know, I think part of what I don't mind about doing it right now, or what I would also be concerned about for the rest of this season is, let's say you trade one and you're bottoming out this season, or you're accepting that this is going to be a brutal year to close this year out after Friday. Do you want Dennis Hill to be playing in there getting shellacked like the goaltenders are right now? Look at the first period. I think it finished in the first period with the shots at like 12-4 or 12-6 or something. At one point, it was 12-2 that I was looking at. I'm like, that is pathetic, especially against the fucking Philadelphia Flyers. You can't be getting outshot that badly, that outclassed, that outworked against the Flyers, who also looked like they didn't want to be there. And the idea of putting Dennis Hill to be in there and shooting down his confidence when the team in front of him is so leaky, so porous, so atrocious, it scares the shit out of me because I don't want to ruin Dennis Hildeby's confidence just to be playing him in these games. And that's the spot I would be worried about with him. But I think the future is a guy like Dennis Hildeby with a Joseph Woll. But again, I don't know how you deploy these guys for the rest of the year. And I think that means that at this deadline, you probably try to find somebody who's desperate for a goaltender and make a swap. Make some type of deal to get a team your goaltender so that you can get a hockey trade back here and get players or picks or prospects back in that deal. This deployment is not good enough.
So two things. One, in that same situation, then you really don't want Cowan up, right? Like you want to be down in the AHL.
That one I'd say is a little bit different, Max. Sorry, I'll let you get your point in 1 second. That one I would say is a little bit different because I think it can work differently for a player than it does for a goaltender. Like if a goalie is facing 40 fucking shots a night and is giving up 5 goals, I think that can shoot his confidence. If Easton Cowan is playing in your top 6 and playing 18, 17 minutes a night and is getting opportunities and is playing with Matthews or Nylander, I think it works a little bit differently. I don't think the confidence can get killed that much, especially if he's getting chances and opportunities to be creative and play in a top 6 role and play against tougher competition and learn. It's not too far off. Like I do understand what you're saying and I don't completely disagree, but because that concern would be there about him being around a losing effort, but it's much better for him to be in a top 6 role in losing efforts than it is for him to be in a 4th line role in a losing effort. And it's different, in my opinion, at least, than putting a goaltender out there in games like this or games like what you played on Saturday night. Like Dennis Hildeby in that game against the Sens, if he's the guy in there and he gets pulled, I'm feeling so bad for the guy because he shouldn't have to deal with that. Joseph Woll, Anthony Stolarz, they're tough guys. They've been around. They've dealt with it. They've seen it all before. They can go in there and deal with it. They're older. They're more mature. They've been in the NHL. I don't want Dennis Hildeby being subjected to that. Easton Cowan, top 6, little bit different. But yes, I understand your point.
Yeah, like, I mean, to counter your point, I think that with the way that the Toronto media is, like having Cowan up there and not playing those top 6 minutes just leaves him out for criticism, and it's pointless. And it's just as bad as having Hildeby out there. And my point was, I really, really don't like the Edmonton Oilers, but they really need a goaltender. And, we could probably get a good deal for Stolarz. We could pick up a Mangiapane or like one of those forwards they're trying to get rid of, and then some. We can get something from them with the Stolarz trade.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, the Oilers did put Mangiapane on waivers, and I think he cleared, right? So I don't think it's as necessary, and I don't know how much that impacts things now because he did.
I didn't want to say
but
him specifically. It's just the name that popped in my head. But
no, I know.
Forward from them.
That's fair. But yeah, I would agree with you on that. Like, I just don't know where the Oilers are at goaltending wise, and if they're going to want to make another trade for a guy. But, does Utah want a goalie? Do they want to pick somebody up? That's a team you could potentially look at. And they've got picks. They've got prospects. They've got things loaded up, and they could potentially overpay because there's not too many goalies out there right now. I think he could be a guy that you look at and say, hey, let's move on from him and we can get stuff back. And, you're not necessarily asking the same types of questions as you are about the lineup. A lot of people have pushed back on me, and I understand the pushback when it's like, okay, move on from, pick your defenseman, Oliver Ekman-Larsson. That's great. You got picks and prospects back, but how do you fill that hole? And that's a fair point. That's a fair counterpoint by people when I bring that guy up and say to trade him or to look to trade him. The guy that, it makes it easier is an Anthony Stolarz or Joseph Woll if you trade them and get the right return back, because you don't have to get a goalie back in the deal. You're going to have Dennis Hildeby coming up to be an NHL goaltender next season. You've got Artur Akhtiamov coming up through the Marlies and probably won't be here next year, but will be a piece in the future. He's an AHL All-Star this season. He's a guy that you're expecting to be a good NHL goaltender, potentially even great NHL goaltender. Who the hell knows? But you have guys coming through for probably like the first time in a long time where you can look at the goalie system here and say, hey, there's guys. So you don't have to worry about that as much if you move on from the piece. But yeah, it makes it easier to palate and to stomach a trade for one of your goaltenders this year.
So I have a question for you. What other teams other than the Oilers, who are kind of contenders or at least, playoff teams, are looking for goaltending right now?
Okay, let me look at the standings real quick so I can probably give you some kind of better answer. But, Utah is one that I threw out there. I think that's one of them.
I just don't think Utah's going anywhere. That's why I say that.
I think Utah wants to be aggressive this trade deadline. Like, apparently they're looking at a lot of things and they want to make trades and they want to get better. And I think goaltending is one area that they can improve on. So I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to improve in that department. Let's look at the West. Grubauer is playing unreal for the Kraken right now, so do they want that? I'd say probably not. Do the San Jose Sharks want to supplement what they have in Askarov? Potentially. Maybe they look for a 1B kind of guy. I know that Bobrovsky was a guy that has been loosely linked to the San Jose Sharks, going there and being an option, but I wonder, maybe you can say, hey, we've got a much cheaper option who's proven he could be at minimum a 1B and he'll be a good guy to be a mentor and be around to Askarov. Like, I'm just throwing shit at the wall, but I wonder if that's the case. The other team that I would look at over in the West would be the Los Angeles Kings. They're struggling to score goals right now, but they're also a team that's struggling to get a save. Like, they cannot get saves. And if you look at where they're at in the standings right now, they're only 4 points out. They just acquired Artemi Panarin. They just fired their coach. It's Anze Kopitar's last season, and Jeff Merrick's the one who said it numerous times, but you have to assume that the LA Kings don't want Anze Kopitar's career to end in game 82. They want him in playoff action to end his career and to finish this season. They want him to get there. They need goaltending. Maybe it's a guy like Anthony Stolarz that goes there and helps them and supplements what they have, and he can help their system. So maybe that's another team you look at. Yeah. Do the Avalanche, do the Stars, do the Wild, do the Golden Knights, do the Ducks need goaltending? I'd say no.
Really,
the Oilers, yes. But then you kind of start to look like the Preds aren't going to buy, the Jets, the Flames, the Blackhawks, the Blues, the Canucks. They're not going to buy. The Blues would be a team that would potentially buy if they're going to get like a Joseph Woll, but not an Anthony Stolarz. And then looking towards the top of your lineup, like the Lightning, the Sabres, the Red Wings, they're not really going to be in the market for a goalie. I don't know, maybe the Carolina Hurricanes would like a guy who could come in there and be a second piece, but they just got Brandon Bussey to go in there with Freddie Anderson. Yeah, what a name. And be there with Freddie Anderson, so they're probably out on that. Do the Penguins or the Islanders want one? I'm going to say guaranteed no to the Islanders. To the Penguins, probably not. The Canadians, maybe. Do they trust Montembeault and Dobish? I don't know. I don't think they're going to want to force feed.
They're
Pardon?
Gonna trust them.
Yeah.
Trust them,
So they're probably not going to want to do that.
So maybe the Kings. Like the Kings.
Yeah. So maybe that's a team you look at. Yeah.
One thing I want to talk to you about. It really bugged me that Berube sat Robertson and Stetcher
Yeah.
because I think Roselle, like he said in the morning or whatever, like they're the two guys who are busting their balls off. You know what I mean? And you
Yeah.
sit those two guys, like that's a message you send to your team. Like you can be as lazy as you want, as long as you make the money, it doesn't fucking matter. I'm not gonna sit you. I'm gonna sit the guy making like league min. Like he's busting his ass off, but I'm gonna sit him and not sit you. It just pissed me off. It really rubbed me the wrong way.
It bothered me too. The Nick Robertson one was one that bothered me. And, let's take winning out of the conversation, right? Because what do you want to win? What do you want to, like, what does winning do for you? Really nothing. Like it just puts you in the mucky middle even more. Again, unless you're going to finish 15th or 16th last in the NHL and make the Bruins pick a middle ground pick that just doesn't really matter, then I can eat it a little bit more, but it feels like even that at this point is too far away. So what, like, why are you not putting Nick Robertson into this lineup? When we talk about speed and young guys and energy and give a fuck meter, those are guys who bring it. I know Nick Robertson's game over the last little while, production-wise, hasn't really been there the way you want it to be, but
I don't care.
he battles,
honestly,
man.
Honestly, I don't care because he's been battling. He's been working. He's been skating his ass off. He's been trying, and this season is over. I don't care. I just want to enjoy watching a game, and I enjoy seeing Robertson skate his fucking ass off. What I don't like it seeing is like Willie Nylander just like skating about and just like doing nothing. You know what I mean? Like or Nicholas Waugh or Michelli or Domi. You could sit any of those players. I don't know. Like I've been such a hard ass on Robertson that like it feels weird defending him, but like they should keep him in the lineup. He's been trying.
Yeah, and obviously they're not going to sit Nylander and Matthews in terms of like healthy scratching them, like sending a message or whatever. It's just irrelevant at this point. But like, yeah, to remove a guy who battles like that is nuts to me. Again, and even on the defensive side of the puck, how tough was it? Like, this is the thing that doesn't make sense to me in the decision making of this team with the lineup here tonight. This is a team that struggles to move the puck out of their own zone, break out cleanly, get up the ice in transition, or even regroup for that matter. Like getting in the neutral zone, turning pucks over, and getting back up ice. They struggle with that on a good night. And then you scratch Troy Stecher. Troy Stecher is not Cale Makar, but he's probably the second best puck mover you have in this lineup.
It hurt
Oliver
Rosie.
Ekman-Larsson.
It hurt Rosie to hear that. Sorry to interrupt you. It hurt Rosie to hear that name. I could tell it. I could look in his eyes and like, oh, Stetcher is scratched, and Rosie was like, fuck.
Yeah, like Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Troy Stecher are your two best puck movers. You remove Troy Stecher from the lineup tonight, and you put in Phil Myers. That's the guy that you put into this lineup. I'm sorry, Phil Myers is not an NHL player. And then you watch how tough it was for this team against the Flyers tonight to get the puck out of their zone. They spent the majority of the first period just trying to break out. They couldn't get pucks up the ice. They couldn't get pucks to forwards. Like, to remove Troy Stecher from this lineup and then to watch that happen is fucking outrageous. The decision-making is insane to me. I know Troy Stecher hasn't had the best stretch of hockey, but like he's a significantly better option than Phil Myers. It made no sense to me for him to be the guy coming out here tonight. And then you immediately see the results out there where they just can't move the puck. It's insane.
Is there a reason why they cannot bring up Villeneuve or Danford?
Well, I mean, you just have to waive guys to get those guys up here. Danford is still playing in the OHL, so he's not going to come up this season anyways. Okay. If his season ended, which I can't see it ending anytime soon. I'm wearing the hat. I was just out there in Brantford.
I'm just curious because I don't really know. But like, yeah, I feel like those two guys would be better than Myers.
Yeah, I mean, I was just out there in Brantford watching. Like, Danford he's a part of a team that is an absolute wagon. He's going to be a part of that group. They're going to go deep, so he potentially comes to and joins the AHL team after this season. But he's not getting called up. In terms of like Villeneuve and Thrun being guys to come up here, yeah, I'd love to see them here. I'd love to see them playing and just see what they are and what kind of players they can be. But I think that you're probably dealing with roster spots and having to waive guys. And I wonder if just the organization is looking at it and saying, we'd rather trade pieces than waive them and have them go for nothing if that's the case. Because somebody might look at a Benoit or, even a Myers and pick the guy up, even if it's just to be on their AHL
What about a
team.
Yarncroke? Would you waive him? I mean, I don't think anybody
It seems
wants
like
him.
they think that there's some type of value for him, even a sixth round pick, 7th round pick. And you know what? I will give them the credit on that one, that I would rather get a 6th or a 7th round pick back than nothing. Because I do think if Calle Yarncroke got waived, someone's going to pick him up.
And that's where, like, I'm hoping that they just clean house of all these tertiary players who are like kind of okay but not really good. Just throw them all away for like 3rd round pick, 4th round pick, 5th round pick, whatever. Clear house and let some of these young guys step up and take the spot. Villeneuve, Quillen, Danford when he's ready. There's a couple others down there that I don't really know names of right now, but like, we need some fresh blood in here.
Yes, we do. We do need some fresh blood. Max, anything else for you here tonight? I know that there's one other caller waiting.
No, that's about it.
All right, buddy. I appreciate the call tonight. Enjoy the rest of your night. I always appreciate the support and hearing from you and hearing what you have to say. So thank you as always, Max.
Have a good one.
Thanks. You too. There you go. Maxentius Decimus on the line. Let's get to our next caller here who has been waiting. Let's go now to Christopher. Christopher, what's up?
Hey, what's going on? My first time calling in.
Yeah, I appreciate the first time call here. How's it going with you?
Oh, not too bad. I don't know. My whole thing with this, like, wanting them to lose thing, if we don't give Boston our pick this year, it's unprotected in 28. And the way things are going, it could be worse in 28 than it is now. So, like, for me, it's almost like get a bunch of friggin' rental guys for next year and do the exact same thing. Try to get some shit, because until you get your own first back, there's not a whole lot we can do when it comes to tanking. That's the problem that I find that we're in, that we're just so fucked.
Yeah, it's a fair point, man. Like, I completely get it. I think that you're just kind of stuck between which draft class do you think is better, the 2028 draft class or this one. So I guess that's kind of the battle that you have to do. It is a good
draft class. It's just, I don't think we're bad enough. Like, I don't think we've been bad enough long enough to get to 5th. Like, I don't think there's enough games for us to get that low.
Yeah, possibly. There's 21 games remaining here, and I just pulled up the Tankathon to see where the Maple Leafs are at after this one. They have 64 points. The Calgary Flames, who have the 5th best chance of getting the first overall pick, they have 55 points. The Blackhawks, with the 4th best, have 55 points as well. The Rangers, 54. The Blues,
yeah, so we're
53.
9 ahead of those?
So you're 9 ahead.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, it's just such a shitty situation that I'm more worried about what happens in 2028 if we were to do that, because the way this is going, like, by that time, who knows if friggin' Matthews and all them, they might want to bail. So we might be forced to do like a full-blown tear-down rebuild, and if we don't have a first in 28, then we're really bad. Then we're talking Phil Kessel-type trades. And fucking...
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it.
I feel like it's almost like we just got to kick the can down the road until we see what's going to happen. Like, it really sucks.
I get it.
Not to be Dr. Negative here.
No, it's a fair point. And I mean, I guess the other thing too is that to your point and what you're saying, and where I will do like the little bit of light on what you're saying and say that what you're saying isn't that negative, it makes it a little bit more positive this way, is if you go through the rest of the season and you don't do a full-blown tank out and you trade your pieces at this deadline, you trade away, actually, you know what? It doesn't even matter. The Flyers have your first-round draft pick next year. So it actually doesn't even matter.
I know. That's what I mean. Like, we're kind of screwed till 28.
Yeah, so it doesn't even matter. They've got your draft pick in 2027 as well. You know what? Honestly, I don't even give a fuck. Like, there's no way to get around this. You just have to...
Dude.
I don't even know what the right way to
We
go
gotta
about
eat
it is.
it.
I was going to try to give you something profound there. I don't even have an answer to it. We're fucked. It is fucked when it comes to the draft picks. I tried to think around it and what it was going to be, and then it kicked into me that the Flyers have the first round draft pick after that. It's 2026 to the Bruins, 2027 to the Flyers.
And
like, even if you
just on the
punt it, it
thing-
goes to the Bruins, and then the Flyers goes to the next year, or the Bruins would go to the next year, and the Flyers get that one.
And I know Brad eats it a lot on the thing, but I think a lot of that is on Shanny trying to save his job last year. Like going,
Yeah.
do that. Yeah, we need Lawton. Yeah, we need Carlo. You know, like
Yep, I
still
agree
had
with
a
you.
boss last year.
I agree with you, and I don't think it's to say that Tree Living would have made amazing deals and changes and trades himself if
like,
he
I'm
was
not
the
saying he's
solo
perfect
guy.
or fine. I'm just saying
No.
I don't hang it all on him.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I do think that there was a lot of influence coming from above, recognizing, some of the stuff we found out behind the scenes, that the Leafs did try to trade Marner last year, but it was too little too late because he had full control. We know Mikko Rantanen was willing to come here, which would have kept this window going for significantly longer, but Marner wasn't willing to accept the trade. And at that point, they realized that, hey, this is the last run with this group. Marner's going to be here and he's going to go in the summer.
Rantanen and Nyes on the line.
Rantanen, Nyes, Matthews, Nylander, like that's a solid top six that you've got there you put together. But Easton Cowan, throw him into there, move Johnny T into a role if you can find a way to get him into like a third line center role.
That's one of the
like
things I almost didn't agree with when they brought back Johnny T. I know he came back on a great thing, but the old captain, I don't know, just wasn't enough change. When they talked about all this DNA change, it just seems like it was the exact same thing, just without Marner and a couple small crappy guys.
Yeah.
Except for I know the third line got bigger, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem really with bringing Johnny T back, especially at the contract that he's on. But it's proving now that he needed to be a third-line center and you needed to get a second-line center. And now you just have 3 third-line centers and 1 first-line center. Like, you have John Tavares, Nick Waugh, and Scott Laughton, who should all be playing third-line center. And John Tavares is playing too high in this lineup, and Scott Laughton's playing too low in the lineup.
Right.
Like, you didn't get a second-line center. You fucked yourself.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, and the other thing too about Mikko Rantanen is, how right now the conversation that we're having, and I can't remember which caller it was who brought this up. It might have been Jordan, saying, would Auston Matthews go somewhere else and potentially win a Stanley Cup? And his answer was yes. And saying, could Auston Matthews win a Stanley Cup if he's not the one guy? And I've answered the question before where we've talked about them needing a dog to be the top 6 guy and trying to figure out who that guy would be. Mikko Rantanen is that guy. Like, Mikko Rantanen would be the guy who would come in here and he would be the dog. He would be the piece that you need that changes the dynamics of that top 6. He changes the dynamic of your elite star players, because between him, Nylander, and Matthews, it would be deadly. And he would be the one who's got the killer attitude, the killer mindset. You've seen him at times snap in Dallas. You saw him at times snap in Colorado. He has that ability that Nylander and Matthews don't have. He would bring a different element. I would take that guy on my team 10 times out of 10 over Mitch Marner. And I think he would have been a piece that drastically changes this. And to know that was a possibility, it makes me sick.
Yeah, like I was one that was for change, because like we'd done the same thing 9 years in a row and wasn't doing anything. So we had to change something, but
yep.
I don't think there was actually enough change kind of. Like, it's hard to say. Like, we just don't have any speed to do what
I know.
Berube wants them to do, and then I don't know, just like it just looks like crap.
Well, they don't have. This is the problem. They don't have enough speed to play the way they want to play in terms of like the players, because you can tell they would rather play a skilled, fast-paced style of game. They don't have enough of it to play the way they want to play, but they don't have enough,
They don't
grit
have
in
people that
them
can
to play the
carry
way
the puck.
Berube wants to play. Yeah. It's
Like, they
nuts.
can't
It's
carry the
bad.
puck. They can't dump and chase. They can't.
They can't. They can't do it. Anything else here, Christopher?
No, buddy. You have a great night. Thanks. for
Thank
taking
you.
my
You
call.
as well. Thanks for the call. Look forward to having you back in the future. Thanks, Christopher.
Yeah, have a good one.
There you go. Christopher on the line. Great call. Great first call there from Christopher as well. Appreciate that. Quick reminder to everybody in the chat, if you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe here to the channel, Leafs Nation 401 right here on YouTube as well. To remind people, coming up on Friday, the DFO trade deadline show. Join us starting at 11 a.m. Eastern time over on the Daily Faceoff YouTube channel. You're not going to want to miss anything, especially considering how active maybe not how active they will be, but how active we hope that they will be come Friday when we look at trading guys and moving pieces. You hope that the Toronto Maple Leafs will be involved in reshaping this organization for the future, getting themselves set up for the summer with more picks, prospects, cap space, all of that and more. Tune into the Daily Faceoff YouTube channel come Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern time for a full in-depth breakdown of everything that will be happening. So make sure to check that out. Thanks to everybody who has called in here tonight. Thanks to everybody who tuned in, has given their thoughts in the chat. Thanks to those who have sent in super chats. We've got some final things to get through here on tonight's post-game show, including our best bets. Our best bet segment is a presentation of Bet365. Use promo code NATION. That's NATION. Code NATION, NATION. Must be 19 or older, Ontario only. Please play responsibly, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit connexontario.ca. Best bets tonight went about as poorly as tonight's game went. I bet on the wrong guy on that line. I thought about betting on him, but I didn't. I was thinking about a William Nylander best bet tonight, and that didn't happen. We bet on Bobby McMann. We bet on Auston Matthews, and neither of them scored a goal here tonight. Your goals in this one come from Dakota Joshua, and they come from William Nylander, so we lose on that. I can put the call link back up in the chat if people want to call in, but no one wanted to call in, so I'll repin it. If people do want to call in, you're welcome to, but the link was there and people were done. Our best bets were McMahon and were Matthews, and we lost on both of those, so that was a full unit down here tonight. That brings us to a total of -2 units on the season. We finished last year up 10. We're down 2 this year, so balancing things out between last year to this year, 8 units profit still if you bet on every bet that we've given out from last year to this year. Link is pinned in the chat if people want to call in. I didn't close down the call line. I just pulled it out, but if people want to call in, it is pinned. Otherwise, we'll continue to wrap up tonight's show. Next thing that I want to get to here quickly, I touched on the Easton Cowan thing. I have to bring this up because it was brought up in the post game when they went down and spoke to the coaches and the players. So Anthony Petrielli put out there, team low for Easton Cowan tonight, who plays in this one. And I'm just trying to put it up on the screen. Sorry, everybody. 1 second here. But move that down. There we go. Okay, that'll work for people. Tweet put out there by Anthony Petrielli says, team low, 823 for Easton Cowan versus Philly. Mark Masters quote tweets this with, "What did Berube see that led him to limit Cowan's time on ice?" Quote, "It's not about that. It's about where he's slotted right now. He's on the second unit on the power play. Didn't get much time there. But he did some good things, made some good puck plays, worked hard, competed. It is what it is." It is what it is? Are you fucking kidding me? It is what it is? You make what it is. Like, everything about this quote makes no fucking sense to me. It is what it is? It's about where he's slotted right now. You slot him. You put him on the fourth line. You put him on the second power play unit. Like, I'm sorry. Johnny T has lost a step right now. Matthew Nyes is very clearly struggling. I know he made a great play on the Nylander goal to tie the game, and he battled for that puck, but he's very clearly struggling. You put him on the second unit. You want him to play on the first unit? There's two guys right there you could move off of. You could move them onto the second unit. You could give them rest. You could take an opportunity away from them and put Easton Cowan in there if you wanted to. Again, the fourth line. It's about where he's slotted right now. You put him on the fourth line. It can't be it is what it is. You make the decisions. Playing a team low 8 minutes and then saying it is what it is, it's about where he's slotted, when you're the head fucking coach of the hockey team, is an outrageous statement to make. How can you, as a general manager or the president of MLSE or in the boardroom of MLSE, look at that and think that that quote is acceptable? If he just came out after and said, Easton Cowan didn't do the things we wanted him to do, or he got lost in the lineup, or whatever, it's easier to stomach than this quote. It is what it is. No, it's not. You make it what it is. If you want him to play more minutes, you could play him more minutes. Why can't you find a way for him to take Michelli's minutes if you really wanted to? Not saying Michelli didn't deserve time tonight. He did make some really good plays, but if you really wanted to, that's a guy you could move. Why can't he play on that second line with Tavares and Nylander? Why can't you put Nylander at center, which you flirted with for so long? If you really want the guy to, how do you not play him? How do you not find ways? And how do you just say, it is what it is? It is what it is an unacceptable quote from the coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. You know, you look at the rest of the lineup here tonight in the minutes that were played by everybody. 13:36 for Nick Waugh. I'm just going to go off the guys who played lower in the lineup. That is incorrect, TOI. Okay, there we go. 13:36 for Nick Waugh. 11:13 for Matias Michelli. 11:05 for Steven Lorentz. 11:51 for Scott Lawton. 11:21 for Dakota Joshua. 8:23 for Easton Cowan. Are you kidding me? How do you not look at this and say that you could find a spot for the guy taking a couple minutes away from a Steven Lorentz? Now, mind you, he does play 3 minutes and 26 seconds shorthanded, and that's where a lot of his ice time comes from. But again, like, or 2 minutes and 59, sorry, Lawton played 3:26. But, like, Domi is out there for 11:21. Dakota Joshua, Matias Michelli. How do you not take minutes away from those guys and play Easton Cowan more? It is what it is an unacceptable quote. He was notably lower than anybody else. That is fucking egregious for the coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs to say after this. I can't believe that. I cannot believe that. He's a skilled, fast, young player who can score. Like, he doesn't have 20, 30 fucking goals this year, but he's got scoring ability. He's got playmaking ability. It is what it is. Cut the bullshit. It is what it is. I can't believe that's the fucking quote that comes out after this game. Oh, yeah. All right. Let's get our final segments and let's wrap this thing up. Let's go now to our play of the game. Play of the game. The Dakota Joshua play, I think, is my play of the game. It was a great play by Michelli in the corner to get that puck, win the race, find Dakota Joshua. It was also a great play by Dakota Joshua to support in a position where he could still be a threat. You know, he didn't just come down low and get lost in the offense and puck chase too much. He didn't overcommit on it. He stayed in a dangerous position. He gets that puck and he gets it off of his stick right away. It was a beautiful shot, a beautiful play, a beautiful pass from Matias Michelli. So that's going to be my play of the game. I just thought it was a great play and a great read. That's how you have to attack in the offensive zone. That's how you have to support if you're a guy like Dakota Joshua. And it was a great release. Found the far side top corner. It was a good play. And that's my play of the game. Let's get to our next thing here. I'm going to make this a staple as we go through the rest of the season. Let's go over to Tankathon and see what we're dealing with for this season. I'll click reset just so everybody can see we're doing this fairly. We're doing this cleanly. Maple Leafs have the 9th best odds at winning the first overall pick this year. Otherwise, if they finish outside of the top 5, their pick goes to the Boston Bruins. Let's sim the lottery. The Maple Leafs remain at 9th. The St. Louis Blues move up and get the first overall pick. Congratulations to St. Louis for getting Gavin McKenna. The Toronto Maple Leafs hand their 9th overall pick off to the Boston Bruins and don't move anywhere. The only swaps in this lottery, St. Louis and Vancouver. Of course, that would happen to the Canucks. They get second. The Blues get first. Are you fucking kidding me? Damn shame to end this one off. How could you not have gotten a top 10 protected? The Florida Panthers acquired Seth Jones and won a Stanley Cup, and it was top 10 protected. Like, the Florida fucking Panthers got a top 10 protected in a deal for Seth Jones. We got Brandon Carlo, gave up Fraser Minton, and the pick is only top 5 protected. How did that happen? Like, did you just call and offer that? Did the Bruins ask for that? Did you offer top 10 and they said no, top 5? How did you only end up with the top 5 protected? How? I know that the Panthers gave up Spencer Knight in that deal, but they went on and won a cup. You lost in the second round for a guy who's nowhere near as good as Seth Jones. And it's only top 5 protected? How? That's a fleecing of all fleecings. Top 10 protected makes this so different. Top 10 protected gives you some comfort right now. You have the 9th best odds. Like, just doing this for the fun of it, thinking, like, what happens if you have a top 5 protected, okay? Or top 10 protected rather than top 5. Okay, right now you're in 9th. The pick is still yours. Sim the lottery. You move to 10th. You still get the pick. You drop down 1. You still get the pick. The Kings moved up 10 fucking spots. That's unbelievable. The Maple Leafs would finish 10th. They would still get the pick. Like, did the Bruins really tell you, no, we'll only take it if it's top 5 protected? Is that how that trade went down? I get that you thought that you were going to be competitive this season. I did too. But did you just willy-nilly offer top 5 protected? That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. All right. Let's get out of here with the grade of the game. I think it's an F. You picked up a point, which, I mean, it kind of sucks. Like, I don't even know if what's good or not what's bad right now. Like, is a point good? Like, do you want to be in, like, the 12 to 16 range? It probably makes it better, so maybe getting points is good. But, like, if you're this close, you might as well get to the bottom 5, so points are useless. And, you know, like, the atmosphere in there sucked. I get why the fans had nothing to cheer about. It was a shit hockey game with no energy, no intensity, nothing. How? This is like the darkest of dark right now. Failure. Failure. I just... I'm at a loss for words. And I know everyone's pinning this on Brad, and I get it. He made some terrible, terrible moves. This is a culmination of 9 years. Like, this is Dubas willy-nilly trading picks. Tree Living willy-nilly trading picks. Pessis. And now you know you're going to be bad this year. You don't have your pick. If you don't figure it out in the summer, you're bad next year. You don't have your pick. If you finish bottom 5 this year, you get the pick. Then you give up the next 2 years. Matthews' contract ends in 2 years. If you're still bad and he doesn't want to return, you trade him, and you potentially still don't have those picks. Like, if you trade Auston Matthews in a year where you didn't have a first-round pick and you sucked, like, you trade Auston Matthews and you're not getting, like, Alexi Joseph or Landon DuPont. This is just eating at me. What a time. I think that'll do it for me tonight on the postgame show. Thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting, super chats. Thanks to all the callers here tonight. Thanks to Craig Berube for providing the entertainment in the post-game quotes that came out. It's dark times. It's dark times. Tune into the Trade Deadline Show, Friday, Daily Face-Off, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Love all of you in the chat. I'll be back here on Wednesday. Game preview, post-game show. Thursday, stay tuned to the channel. We'll confirm today and or tomorrow and Wednesday what we're going to do. I think we might do something a little different on Thursdays. If we do, I really want you guys to be involved in it. You know what? After this video is over, comment in the video after. Don't comment in the live chat now. Comment when this video is over and drop your comments in there. Would you be interested on Thursday in us having a live watch along? Me and producer Vic will do it. I'll try to get some guests to come through. I'll set up a link for you guys as well in the chat so we can take some callers throughout the course of the show as well during the game. We'll react to the game, but we'll also more so tee up over the course of like 3 hours during the game. You know, we'll do a pregame video, like live show there. We'll talk about the game while it's on, and then we'll do a little bit of a postgame. If you guys would be interested on Thursday, and we'll just do it during the game. Let me know your thoughts on that. Drop your comments in the video after this is done. I want to see it there. And then if it's in there and it's not in the live chat, it's easier for us to take to the bosses and the powers that be above us. So let me know there if that's what you guys would be interested in, because I think that might be something that we'll do on Thursday. Probably try to get Johnny Lazarus to join as well. I don't want to promise that, but I'll ask. See what we can do about Thursday if you guys are interested in that. That'll do it for me here tonight. Thanks to everybody who watched, commented, liked, subscribed, all of it. I'll see you guys back here on Wednesday for a normal show. Comment after, like the stream, subscribe here to the channel. Thanks to all of you guys for watching. Just a quick update here, 136 likes, so that's 2 more smelling salts. I think I owe you guys 6 on Wednesday. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys then. Keep believing. For more content just like this, including game previews, post-game live shows, Leafs Morning Take Monday through Friday with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with special guests, as well as instant reaction videos, make sure to be subscribed here to the Leafs Nation YouTube channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss anything, and drop a